Hello and welcome to module number 7 for the Sick Biz Business courses. This is a wonderful module. I think you're going to find you'll use it a lot. You're going to find that I hope you refer to it often, actually. It's the toolkit module. And we're just going to bing, 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 run right through the list of tools that I use regularly, that I am very familiar with and that I want to tell you about, because if you're not using some of these tools, maybe they will come in handy for you. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is the difference between using a Google Doc, using a Word doc, and using OneDrive. So I edit everything in Word, and it gives me the ability to track changes and things like that. And I know what you might be thinking, well, hey, that ability exists in the Google Doc as well. And yes, it does. The difference is that Google is not designed to hold a longer length document. So oftentimes what happens is it freezes up, or it's going to start over, or when you try and reformat it. So if you're downloading it, moving it into a Word document to work off of, which I have done a lot, it doesn't go smoothly. Google uses a completely different view. They use different criteria that creates the view you're looking at. So you'll be looking at the document in a web view versus you're typically looking at a print view in a Word document. So if you don't know how to get around those and mediate those, it can be a little sticky. And I'm not a fan of waiting. I'm not a fan of things reloading and losing comments and things of that nature. So I use a Google Doc in real time with my clients. If I have a document that we're working on together, a project that we're working on together, then we use that document. They can see that they've actually paid for work to be done. They can see the work being done, which is a pretty cool thing too. When I was at Best Buy back in the day of tracking that remote worker, they needed to make sure that there was some sort of software that tracked, hey, we're going to pay you. Are you actually doing work? And you had to sign in, and then you had to upload your completed work. So Google Doc to me is technology coming forward in that way, where you can actually see what people are working on in real time, and you can contribute at the same time. So as I'm typing something, somebody else might be typing something, or they might be adding an image, or they might be pasting in content, or whatever the case is. But Google Doc is great for those documents that don't start getting into book length. For anything that gets into book length, a longer project like that, and this is applicable to all businesses. It's not just applicable to editors and publishers or writers. All businesses, a lot of businesses nowadays are writing books. So if you're going to write a book, choose to use either you're going to hardwire install that to your computer. So it's going to be on your hard drive. The Word document, you can use it for either Mac or PC. It doesn't matter. The one functionality drawback in Mac is that you can't directly install Grammarly. And so with the Mac, what I have to do is take chunks of the content, and then I have to move that over and paste that into an online Grammarly service. Whereas with the PC, you can enable Grammarly to work right in with that Word version. And so it does the Grammarly right there, in addition to the spell check. So it's the gold standard for editors and writers is to use that Grammarly. So there is a way around it. It's just a little trickier, and it takes a little bit more time. In terms of the Google OneDrive, when you're using Word, that works exceptionally well. And I do have editors use that. They've made their changes. They've sent them to me. They can jump into the OneDrive in real time. So if they're traveling around a lot and they're worried about, I'm not sure about accessing a connection or sending you back my edits or what I've done, so they can jump into that OneDrive and ensure that they can give me the changes that they need. When I download them, they're right there. I can see all the track changes, I can see the comments and everything. It's a really nice integration. So those are the three, I think they really make the most sense to use. I've had, and I have used actually, imitation Word programs, but those typically did not work out very well, because when you are sending a file and you're using an imitation service, that's how it's going to come across to your client. That's going to create problems for your client. They're going to receive it and go, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, it's not catching these changes. It only caught a little bit of the formatting. The rest of it's kind of trash. So then you almost have to start over, and that's a waste of time. So those, to me, seem to be the best programs to use in that capacity. You can also use Google Sheets, which is Google's version of Excel spreadsheets. Excel obviously has a lot more options to it, although the Excel Online actually doesn't, and the Google Sheets Online don't either. They don't allow you to freeze the top of the pane and look at the content as you're scrolling, so you do lose some functionality there. But in terms of a financial use, spreadsheets, it's kind of a toss-up. You can use the Excel spreadsheets and download it, or you can just save a little bit of time. It's free, and you can access the Google Sheets through your Google Drive, which is connected directly to your Gmail. You can also do the same thing with PowerPoint. They have a software that enables you to work in the PowerPoint in real time. Now, I've also run into problems with this, though, in terms of the two programs being able to talk to each other, the Google PowerPoint and then the standard PowerPoint from Microsoft, and run into problems talking to each other. So make sure that you do your homework and test it out a little bit and see what works for you. I err on the side of caution of choosing the tools that my client needs. So I let them tell me what they need. I've never taken a job and said, you know what, I don't have that tool, so I can't do this. If I take a job and I know how to do that job, even if I've only done it a couple times, I'm like, you know what, I can do this job. But if I need a tool, I'm going to purchase the tool that the client regularly uses. Again, that's making sure that we're not putting that obstacle in their path. We want to make sure that this is super smooth and easy for you, Miss Client. You're not going to have to go back and forth with me on email or text or messenger or whatever and talk about, what if we did this, and what if we did this, and what if we solved it this way? We've already anticipated what we need to do to help with those tools. So I encourage you to check all of those out. See what makes sense for you. That's just what makes sense for me. Moving on, you are going to need some sort of photo editing application. For me, that's PicMonkey. Even though I did go to college for marketing and advertising, so I'm familiar with Photoshop, and I'm probably like a medium level of what I can do in Photoshop. And so I'm not finding that there's a huge difference between working in Photoshop and working in PicMonkey as far as my own skills are concerned, especially because PicMonkey added some new options for you where you can not only do what you typically would do in Photoshop, which is edit a photo. So you can crop, you can size, you can layer, you can add captions, create memes, use other media and things of that nature. And so that's available now in PicMonkey. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about Photoshop because it requires education. It requires that you actually take courses, as in plural, as in invest your time and your money and learn from somebody who knows a lot about that. I know, again, a medium level of it because I did take it. But there are some parts of it that I'm just not interested in pursuing further, especially because PicMonkey is able to do those things for me that I need. So I can format a feature image for a blog or an article, for example. I can create the media that I need for Sick Biz Buzz. I just have a template It's just a white background, and then I have the logo, and I leave an area where I can put the picture of whomever that person happens to be who is talking that day, who's a guest that day. So I only have several different needs for PicMonkey, and those work out really well for me. I also subscribe and make sure that I get a little bit more of those options. Otherwise, it's going to keep also asking you repeatedly to subscribe, and I believe it's $7.99 a month, so it's also affordable. But it gives you a few more options so you can do some creative things and do them quickly. I like that they update their program frequently too, so they seem to kind of keep their pulse on that and keep things going for their users. Next, we're going to talk about project management tools, and there's two in particular that I'm going to discuss with you. You may not be at the point where you need a project management tool for your business, but perhaps you are participating in a project where you are one of the players on the team, and you'll need to know how to participate in the project management tools. So Trello and Asana are the two that I'm most familiar with. I will talk briefly about Slack just for a minute here, because Slack to me seemed like a waste of time. It was mainly a communication portal, and I do that on Facebook. You know, I don't need all of these other applications that are open where I'm like, okay, I'm talking on Facebook here, and I received this document here on Facebook. Okay, but great, I also received it here on Slack. Or once I was talking with somebody on Facebook and I said, hey, did you get that thing to me? And they said, yeah, I sent it to you in Slack. And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Now what we're doing is we are creating additional work where there doesn't need to be work. So Slack is a no-go for me. There are many other portals and many other ways that you can get in touch with people, that you can maintain communication with them. So I just don't even go there. Generally, I use Facebook if I'm connected and the person that I'm working with in a business capacity is open to working with me, then I connect to them via Facebook. If they're not open to that and they like to keep it a little bit more of a professional distance, email is a fine choice. Just old-fashioned regular email, nothing glamorous about it. Or texting. Texting works a lot too. I typically don't just pick up the phone and call my clients. I know some people do that, and I think we need to in this day and age. It's we've really been conditioned to understand that that's a little bit intrusive. So I maintain my communication via Facebook, email, and text, and that's it. And a lot of times that's where I'm closing my deals. So it works for me in that way. And I invite you to figure out what works for you too, and then stick with it. You know, that's the biggest thing, is that we all kind of move around and try different things. I am a fan of consistency and stability. I love it when I find something I can just stick with it, and this is the way we've done it for years on end. Regarding Asana and Trello and the differences between the two. Now, these are both project management tools, and they kind of offer the same thing. I thought Trello did a better job of it. I thought Trello encapsulated and was able to present folders and information for my clients in a nice, tight hub. So that's my favorite. You can do essentially the same thing. Trello, in the ways that I used it, was used as a hub. So not so much a communication tool. It was just more like go to Trello and see what's there. We can see the status of things. So I know, so-and-so's been booked for a podcast. Great. So what's the next step? I can move things around. I can do that in Asana too, but there seemed to be a push to communicate in Asana. And I am a fan of these project management sites being a hub where we house everything, but not necessarily have our communication. Asana didn't seem to have as many options as Trello, or maybe I just wasn't using it correctly, but I found it pretty tiresome that I always had to be moving the cards over here and doing this over here and updating this, and I'm waiting for somebody else, versus creating a nesting kind of a symphony of folders, if you will, and you can go in there and see who has done what. Okay, great, you've done this, we're going to move down and we'll keep talking about it. It's almost like a chat thread, and Asana is not used that way. Asana is, you have to click on the inside to even access messages or get updates, and I just wasn't a fan of it. So Trello for life when you need a project management tool, using it as a hub and then having consistent communication outside of that, so you're not depending on it. The other thing I like about Trello is you can email actual emails that will go to a card in Trello. So you don't have to say, you know what, I know so-and-so sent that email. You can go ahead and click that in Trello. If Asana has that functionality, I have not seen it and I have not used it in that manner. So if you're like, man, Asana has that, you don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I don't, but I'm just telling you what worked for me. That's the theme of this whole thing. This is what worked for me. I hope you can find value in it as well. So that is how I feel about Trello and Asana. And again, I urge you to make up your mind and play with both of them and see what you think. Also, take a look at the pricing. Asana, I felt like got a little bit too pricey for what was being offered. It was like, where is my autoresponder virtual assistant? Doesn't someone like that come along with that if you want to bill me for this? And Trello just seems to have more of a standard pricing. Again, my experience. When it comes to autoresponders and text responders, the first thing you should know is that I'm not a fan of autoresponders. I am a fan of auto texting, and I know that seems a little weird, but it really comes down to how you're using it. So for instance, I'm not a fan of using autoresponders on a Facebook page. So if somebody sends me a message and says, hey, I want to get in touch with you, I want to talk about this project, whatever, I don't want the autoresponder to come back, that sounds great, tell me more. And then they tell us about the project or whatever, and then it completely irrelevant response follows, which lets people know, hey, you're not paying attention to me and you've got an autoresponder working for you. That's where I am in my business. I'm not at a point where taking that type of misstep wouldn't hurt me. It would hurt my authenticity. It would hurt the way that I strive to be genuine in everything that I do. So if people are hearing, oh shoot, you know, their team member doesn't even care enough to stop, then I'm not going to do that. So I don't use autoresponders when it comes to Facebook and or other social media. I do use auto texting, or I have helped my clients with it. And the reason is it's a little bit different. With auto texting, your client is not expecting you to be a human being. In essence, they're signing up for a campaign. They're signing up to receive marketing information, and that includes through their phone. So we want to keep the message valuable for them. In my case, I worked with a realtor, and the realtor said, you know, I need you to write these 5 messages. The messages were 200 or less words, and the crux of each message was that there's going to be value delivered. We know that there's upwards of a 90% view rate on text messages, so that's another reason that we want to capitalize on this, is you can use text messages, and you know people are seeing your business. That's pretty important, and that's a pretty great discovery for your business too. In the realtor's case, the campaign centered around, we're going to talk to them in a conversational manner, but then we're going to ask them to do things. So we might ask them to text us back at a specific number, so they got set up for some type of program. We might send them to a link which has a PDF that enables them to fill out information and get connected with some pre-approval contacts. We might send them a link to go to a mortgage calculator. that was the focus, that we're not hiding behind, we're not pretending to be a person. And I think that's why autoresponders rub me the wrong way, is that I don't want to pretend to be something that I'm not. So it doesn't make me feel good if somebody would come to my page and they're perceiving that I'm a human being, and I know I'm not a human being and I'm still trying to act like I'm one. Well, of course they're going to be offended. And I put myself in their shoes. Would I not be offended? However, if the transparency is there, I sign up to receive a text message, auto response. I know it. I've entered into a campaign. This has been disclosed to me. I'm ready to buy. And so maybe I feel like this is information I want anyways. Then I feel good sending out that information. I'm not hiding anything from my clients. And I think that's what autoresponders tend to do. And maybe you've been on the receiving end of that, where you've signed up for something or started talking to somebody, maybe even in a chat room. I know I called a utility or a cable company. I didn't call them. I chatted with them one day, and I fully expected I was talking to a person. And what I found out at the end of the conversation was this conversation was conducted by a chatbot. That did not make me feel good. That did not make me feel like continuing to be a customer, because they knew they were not a person. I didn't know that until the end. And so I felt kind of silly. And so I don't want to put that on my clients. I'm aiming for authenticity. And as I tell my clients too, I'm trying to bring back the point when you could get real customer service, when you had somebody who cared, when you had somebody on the other end of a line that was a person that had just enough at stake to help you. I care about my company, so I care about my clients. If I don't care about my clients, my company's going under. But more importantly, care about people, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help people. That's the overarching theme. Yes, we are here to make money. Of course we are. We have to make a living. There are some tangible things that we have to deal with. But at the base of that is caring about people. So we can't forget that. That's critically important. Now on to Zoom. Zoom is hands down my favorite conferencing app. So I've used freeconferencecall.com and tried to do Google Hangout one day and just couldn't even get the dang thing started. So that was super fun. So Zoom has always been there for me. And now you can record the conversations. You can share your screen. You can have another person who's on the conference call with you, or the video call with you. And you can have the video on or off. It totally depends on you. But you can have them share the remote screen and control of the mouse. So you're all on the same page. You're explaining things at the same time. You can record the dang thing. You set it up. You send the link out. It's very, very easy for people to integrate with as well. So some of these other programs, you'd have to log in. I have to create I have to create an account or whatever. And I've tried Skype too a number of different times. Skype, I think, just doesn't have it together. Sometimes Skype won't interact well with external hardware. For example, Zoom, I've never had a problem with that. You can also chat during Zoom. Google Hangouts was, I have no idea what happened with that, but that's only worked for me a couple of times, and I need something that's reliable. So I'm happy to pay Zoom a subscription cost. It costs $60 a month, so it's a little bit more, but I use it a lot, and I use it in my podcast too, because I make sure that I have that good connection with people, and I make sure that I have reliable equipment. And that's what this whole module is about. You don't want to shortcut yourself on your tools. Even if it costs you a little bit more, you're saving time. You know you're saving time because you're not going to have to re-download something, or God forbid, contact somebody and say, you know what, that I didn't get that. That actually didn't record. What a nightmare. Then what? Then how do you look? And what if it happens again? Then how do you look? One time maybe somebody goes, well, you know what, technology's a fluke, etc. What if it happens again? that is positioning you as a person who doesn't have it together, whose business doesn't have it together. So I don't want that to be you. Err on the side of caution and functionality with your tools, and especially when your clients say, yes, we're ready to get going. Here's the project. This is the tool we're using. Do you have this tool? Yes, I do. Yes, I 100% have that tool, and we'll be able to integrate in that fashion so it's convenient for you. That's a huge, huge obstacle for clients, is when you come to them and say, yes, I can do this. I can do it this way, and it's awesome. And then they go, but do you have this tool? And then other people say, oh, you know what? I don't. And the client goes, well, shoot, you know what? I have to weigh that in my head. Do I have to be retrained on something? Do I have to train this person on something? Get the tools that are being used in your industry that completely helps you underscore yourself as an expert as well. And you can move quick. You can close quick. Yep, got it. Prepared. Here we go. I'm ready. Always be ready. Always be planning for success. This is a theme that we have going on. This is a theme. In addition to Zoom, sometimes you might need to record calls. What I'm finding lately is that I am using Tape-A-Call, which I've used for years. I've used Tape-A-Call for years, but I'm lately having an issue with it. So I'm having problems getting it to transcribe, which is about 99% of the reason why I use it. So I'm falling back on rev.com, REV as in Victor.com. You can create an account profile, and then you can also use it on your phone. So I'm falling back on Rev. And oddly, or maybe not so oddly, I'm falling back on Zoom. So you can also just pop up a meeting, boom, just like that. You can log into your account and say, host a meeting now, and host it with or without video. And then I just hit the record button. I make sure that I have the person on speakerphone. And what I have found is that you can take that locally downloaded audio clip of the meeting and you can upload it to Rev. I use the automated transcription feature that's 10 cents a minute versus the human feature, which is $1 a minute. So there's a 90% savings right there, which is amazing and has kind of revolutionized the content industry, so to speak. So those are the tools that I recommend in that regard. Hopefully Tape-A-Call gets it together, because they were really just a tight little app, just super fun. You could jump on the phone, tell your person, you know, hey, I'm gonna hook up my Tape-A-Call. It's just gonna be 1 minute. You'd hook your Tape-A-Call up, you'd hit transcribe later, and boom, away you went. It would be delivered to your email. Very, very easy. Then you could take that content, put it into the book, put it into a blog, whatever the case was. Now they're having problems with that. So relying on Rev to that degree. Facebook Messenger, it's time to revisit Facebook Messenger. I use it daily. I don't just use it when I'm on Facebook, because I'm not on Facebook all the time. I might leave it open. I leave it open so I can just periodically check in and out. I know that doing so and being a part of Facebook and responding to people has a lot to do with my brand. I know that. So I make sure that I am there. I make sure that I'm utilizing Facebook throughout the day, in particular Facebook Messenger. I get an immediate message. I can respond immediately. I can send money. I can send documents, images, screenshots, all sorts of other things. I can interact with people in that regard. So Facebook Messenger is very, very valuable. In addition to the fact it's an icebreaker, because it's connected to Facebook as a whole, which helps you get to know people so you're more comfortable. I definitely am. Credit card processing and payment systems are a must. We did talk about those. I'm just going to revisit those a little bit. Make sure those are in your toolkit. We talked about Venmo, PayPal, Stripe, Zelle, which is a bank-to-bank application now, and it doesn't cost any money. Venmo doesn't cost any money. That's why a lot of people are gravitating towards that. Stripe and PayPal both have the standard industry fee attached to them of like 2 or 3%. I think it's 3%. And that might not sound like a lot, but it adds up over time. You're not quite sure, like, why are you charging me this anyways? So in any regard, the point is that make sure you have multiple ways to get paid set up. In terms of Stripe, I have a subscription link that I send to people. So I tell them, you know, I've set this up. I want you to set it up for this dollar amount. It's going to be what, $7.50 a month, whatever the case is. This is the invoice number I want you to use. It enables them to go ahead and enter in their credit card information. And it is set up to be billed on whatever date of the month that is, and then it will be renewed. So that's the retainer fee. Now, I had to have a website programmer design that for me. That was another case where it's like, hey, I don't know how to design this, where it's going to go on my website, how it needs to talk to the back-end technology to take the card and then know to reload it, what does the front end look like, etc. And I think that cost me about maybe $300 or something like that to get that page done. But it has been invaluable, because if I have people who want to start a retainer fee, then I don't have to sit and say, well, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. I don't know what I'm going to send to you. Let me figure that out. Instead, even if I don't have any prospects who are retainers at this point, it is available to me. So I highly recommend, if you're in the type of business where you can get a retainer client that makes up that either passive or partial passive income, definitely have that set up. And check out those payment links. Figure out what you need to do, but make sure if somebody says, hey, I need to pay you by wire, can I pay you by check? Dude, you can pay me by a check as long as I know it's coming. I'm not sure what your payment terms are, if they're net 30 or whatever. When I worked with the national hotel chain, I was paid by check. I work with the national mortgage company right now. They pay me by a check. So as long as I know a check is coming and that I can depend on that for income, I'm completely fine with it. I have no issues with that. So I can get paid by check. I can get paid by direct bank transfer. I can get paid by PayPal, by credit card, by retainer. However, if somebody wants to pay me, hey, I'm here. I'll make it happen. Make it happen. It doesn't, it's not really brain surgery in that way. You know, we just have to take a few extra steps and do a little bit more research. What do I do to make this happen? How can I get this money in the door? You want to give me money? I will do everything possible to make it easy for you. Finally, we're going to talk about email CRM. So CRM stands for Customer Relations Management. That refers to the management system. So in essence, you are creating a media piece, be it an email piece, be it a banner on your website. Somebody can click on that and join your email. But however you're integrating with your prospects or your clients, and you're saying, hey, I want to take in your information, and they're saying, okay, great, you're going to give me this, I'm going to give you my information. It's kind of a trade-off. But what you do is you take that information and it goes into a management system that allows you to then send their information out. You can send it via email, you can use it to send them special promotions, whatever the case is, but you have their email, you have their data. The saying in this modern day entrepreneurship landscape, if you will, is that data is what is going to make your company valuable. So if you look at companies like Amazon, if you look at companies like PayPal, some of these companies that are newer to a degree over a Walmart, for example, which has more of a physical footprint. If you look at some of these tech companies or digital companies, they're valuable because of their data. They have hundreds of thousands or millions of names. That means that's the potential that they have to get money in the door from these clients. So you want to jump on the data bandwagon, and using an email CRM is the way to do that. I use MailChimp. is you can start it for free. It lets you use it for free until you reach a certain number of subscribers, and then you have to pay a monthly fee, and it's still not enough to like break the bank. It gives you the full functionality. You can create a newsletter if that's what you want to do. You can send out promotional messages to people. You can create email drip campaigns, whatever the case is, whatever you need to do for your business. And so it's very functional for me. Now, I have also worked in Aweber, iContact, Constant Contact, farmersonly.com. No, I'm totally kidding. I just had to see if you're paying attention. I've worked in various other email CRMs, and I can tell you they're all pretty similar. They all have the same sort of functionality, and so you can play around with those and see what makes sense to you, see what feels good to you. There are two that are a little bit more technologically advanced, and they sort the customers according to the steps that they have taken in a sales process. So they'll say customer A is all in. They've done everything. We're going to put them over here. They're going to receive kind of residual emails or newsletters or things of that nature. They're going to get some promotional things. Some other customers who may be in the midst of deciding, are they going to further integrate with you? Are they going to further integrate specifically with promotions? So have they signed up, or maybe they've said, you know what? I just want to look at this. I don't really want to pay for it right now. I just want to look at it. Okay, great. So that means you, customer who's behaving in this way, are going to get these emails. You, customer who's behaving in that way, are going to get these emails. So this is a little bit of a deeper concept of understanding, and that is the only reason why I say just be aware of that and make sure that you understand it. Infusionsoft is one, Entreport is the other. There's a lot of this new integration of how the customer is behaving within a particular sales cycle. There's multiple sales cycles that are going on. That's why I'm sticking to MailChimp right now, because I don't have that happening. I don't have a need for that. I'm also a huge fan of, if you don't have a need for it, don't pay for it. Use what is easy to understand, some of the best tools in the industry. So when I say some, I don't mean like you have to go directly to Entreport, but you can go to other tools in that category that are within the best tools in the industry that your clients are using and that are going to provide value, and more importantly, that speak to and answer your needs. That's why we choose the tools that we do. You may have some other tools that you use that work out fantastically, that you're very confident in. And so as we come to the end of this module, I'm going to invite you to send me an email and let me know what those tools are, because I'd love to learn about them. I'm all about learning. I was on a podcast today and the lady said, you know, do you have a mantra? And I thought, you know what? The heck is my mantra? I don't know if I have a mantra. I just get excited every day to wake up and learn. Every day is a learning opportunity for things that I don't know, that I can hear from other people that they want to share with me. So if you have other tools that you use, please send me an email. You can reach me on the resources page where my email will be listed. I would love to hear from you. And that wraps it up for Module 7, talking about toolkits. Now you have got a nice, big, relevant toolkit right at your disposal. Let's see what you can do with it, with your business. I know you're going to shine even brighter than before. And with that, I will see you on Module 8, our last module. Thanks so much.